And we are live for episode number 12 of the Bronx Bomber Babble podcast. I'm your host, Matt Loves Luigi. And tonight I'm here with, well, it's really not tonight yet, but tonight I'm here with Nick and I'm here with Alex. How you guys doing?
Eaters.
This is the best day of my life. Having the best day of my life.
Pretty
Well,
incredible.
that's good to hear.
Yeah,
I get to spend time with you guys. What could be better than that?
nothing much could be better. Maybe a bullpen that lives up to expectations.
Doesn't blow games.
Correct. Yep. That would
would
be
be
much better.
But yeah, we're recording right before the Yankees take on the Orioles in Game 2 of their 4-game set. CC taking the hill tonight, so we're gonna record an episode before then. We'll be out before the game starts. Yankees we're through 7 games of the season, still very early on. The Yankees are 4-3, and let's just start off right away. We're gonna go through the 3 games that have happened since our last show, but let's just start off with the bullpen, who we thought the Yankees bullpen would be the strong point of this team, and through 7 games, it probably still will be. There's still a lot of season left, but so far, it's been noticeably bad, and it's not just Betances. When you see Chad Green go out there and just get ragdolled, you start to kind of scratch your head a bit and say, what's going on here? I'm just going to read some of the ERAs from the bull. I could go deep into the numbers, but I'm just going to read some individual ERAs from guys in the bullpen. Green's at 4.5 right now. Canley's at 4.91. Betances 6.75. D-Rob's at up above 12. Adam Warren's 3.86. Chappie's at flat 3. And then there's Jonathan Holder. I just wanted to add this in there for a little comedy. Jonathan Holder's at a 40.50 ERA.
That's pretty good.
Better days for the Holder man. He's probably going to be on the Scranton shuttle pretty soon. But yeah, so the bullpen just as a whole really has been struggling. It seems, this night it's Canley, this night it's Green. And, I had a bit of issue with how Boone managed the bullpen in, a couple of those games. But overall, it's nothing to do with Boone. The bullpen, you're putting these guys out there. You're putting Green out there. You're putting Canley out there. Whoever you're putting out there, they're just not getting the job done. Just think that Robertson last year, as a Yankee, since from the trade deadline on, since they acquired him, only allowed 4 earned runs. In that one appearance against the Blue Jays, he allowed 4 earned runs. So that just puts in a little perspective of, just how poorly this bullpen has performed. So you guys think this is this is just a blip on the radar, or is this a legitimate cause for concern?
I think it's way too early, I think, to still be legitimately concerned about the bullpen. It's along the lines they're still warming up. It's April 6th and the season started a lot earlier than it would have normally. And it's been consistently, 40 degrees in the Bronx so far this season. So pitchers are not used to working in that. So their stuff has not been as good. And I once it gets warmer, I think they'll be a lot better. It's just been a case of they're just trying to work through the weather and just a much earlier start to the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think a week in, we can't rush any decisions here. It's funny when, aside from Chapman, Adam Warren has the best ERA in the bullpen, in a bullpen that I know I mentioned on a previous podcast. I said it could be the best bullpen in history. I look really great for that right now, but each one of these guys, it seems like, has had a massive meltdown in a game.
If you count Shreve, who's had 1 appearance, he has the low because he had 1 inning where he didn't give up a run. So technically, he has. But out of
even that, Jason Shreve has the best ERA, exactly. And that's that's not something that you would expect. So yeah, man, I think it's early. You really hate to lose some of these early on games against teams that might not necessarily be considered upper tier, cream of the crop in the MLB, because every game counts. You don't want to, lose a division by a game or 2 and look back at these first couple games and be like, man, if only our lockdown bullpen or bullpen we thought would be locked down would take care of this. I don't have to tell Yankees fans that last year the bullpen was a struggle for probably the first half of the season until we finally traded Clippard and got some reinforcements with Robertson and Canley. So I would really Me personally, I'm not worried about it. Give these guys, like Alex said, let it warm up, let them break in a little bit. I'm not worried about it. I think the Yankees bullpen is still going to be locked down. Just what happens a week in. If you have your off games, in the first week, it gets really over magnified when you look at the stat sheet. So I'm not too terribly worried about it at all.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think any of us should be worried about it, but I think it really is just surprising more than anything. The fact that that was the one thing that we just weren't worried about too much. The bullpen. You have so many guns. You have so many guys that could just shut it down. And yeah, I mean I guess they just need a week or so to ease into the season. But with bullpen guys, a 2-3 bad weeks that could just damage your ERA the whole season. Because you're not going to get that many appearances. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see even tonight, even the next couple of days, how Boone manages this bullpen. Who's gonna be the first guy out of the pen because I don't think D-Rob pitched the last couple of games, but I don't think you're gonna be seeing Green tonight. Maybe probably see Canely. Betances had a nice little bounce back outing last night. I believe he gave up one hit and struck out all three of his outs were strikeouts.
He walked a guy.
Yeah,
that's just kind of how he rolls. Is he walks people. But yeah, like you said, struck out the side.
Did Betances walk today? Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, but it's weird though because usually the way that things normally go is to start the season, the bats are usually a bit hotter than like pitchers. Pitchers usually take until a couple months in the season to get going, but the bats to begin the season are usually hot. And the Yankees overall, with this great lineup, their bats haven't been exactly on fire. The only two guys that have really hit well, I mean, really the only guy that's been mashing the ball is Didi. Didi's hitting. I think his on base percentage is up over 500. He's hitting close to 400. It seems like every single hit is an extra base hit. I think he only has like a couple singles.
I think he has one.
Yeah, I think like that blue pit and maybe one other, but that's it. Yeah, he's been unbelievable. We're going to talk about this more a little bit later, but Judge, the last couple games, hitting a home run each of those two games, he looks like he's just picking right back where he left off last year at the stadium, where I believe he hit 33 home runs last year. He's just mashes at Yankee Stadium, and it's probably because it's just like a little kiddie park, But hey, that's another story, right? Aaron Judge only hits all those home runs because of how small Yankee Stadium is.
Well, and the same with Didi Gregorius, right? According to some podcasts out there that say he's just hitting them over the wall there. Anybody see the ALDS Game 5 last year when he was whacking them deep into the field at Progressive Field? So yeah, all the Yankees, they just hit wall scrapers in Yankee Stadium. That's all it really is.
Yeah, and the right field of Yankee Stadium, that's the only stadium where you can hit a little, you can not get all of it and still get out. It's definitely not like at Fenway where you can hit a 290-foot fly ball and have it get out.
Yeah, or like any fly ball to left field in Fenway is going off the wall. But anyway,
yeah, there you go.
Let's just review the games from the week. Let's start with the game on Tuesday, the game that was supposed to be Monday, but got snowed out. And then I'm going to admit, I literally thought there was no chance they'd get the game on Tuesday, but they did, and it was miserable. But they got it in, and the Yankees picked up a win. They won it 11-4. I just wanted to talk about this a little. So in that game, Jordan Montgomery started that game. He went 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. It was the right move to take him out. But in a 4-1 game, in the 6th inning, Aaron Boone put in Jonathan Holder. Now, I said on Holder's pinch drive preview, I called him the trash man, and that he would only be in games that were like 8-run games. So I was proven wrong right away. But what did you guys think of that move to put Holder in the 6th inning in a 4-1 game, especially when the Yankees had the day off yesterday? It wasn't like they were playing their 12th game in 12 days. They had their whole bullpen was rested, and Boone goes in and puts Holder in the 6th inning, and the Rays tied the game. And I know the Yankees wind up winning the game by 7 runs, but that's a move that if they lose that game, that there's articles on top of articles being written about that move. So what did you guys think of that? Did you have a problem with that move? Because some of us in BBB didn't have a problem with that move and said, "Oh, Holder has a job on this team. He needs to pitch better." But and I understand all that. But I didn't think it was the right move to put your 13th best pitcher in that spot.
Oh, I definitely have a problem with it. Like you said, it'd be one thing if they were coming off, a back-to-back-to-back where some of the guys were tired, but why are we putting, like you said, the 13th guy in a 4-1 game? That's a close game. That could change pretty quickly, and it did. The game did get tied up, so I don't know, man. I think we can still call Holder the trash man, but instead of maybe him coming in low-leverage spots, it's because he has a 40.5 ERA. And maybe that's a little harsh because he has, that came in all of an inning pitched that day. But we kind of said this earlier in our podcasting season here that we didn't necessarily think Boone was going to have a set formula of who to bring in any given situation with the bullpen. And that has been beyond true, but I don't think it's what we wanted. I think we were kind of hoping he'd ride a hot hand or go with maybe if, in the ninth inning, if there was, a right-handed heavy, part of the order due up, you go to a Robertson instead of Chapman, something like that. I don't think we were talking about bringing Holder in, to try and defend a 4-1 lead in high-leverage situations like that. So Boone's definitely made some very interesting and very questionable calls so far. Again, I think it's under a spotlight right now because it's the beginning of the season. I think that these things happen throughout the course of the season, but when you haven't had a lot of good moves to go alongside it, and you only have your bad moves, then it gets over magnified. So again, I kind of want to put this in the, it's early kind of place here and not freak out about it too much, but it's definitely something to watch how Boone is going to use this bullpen going forward, because it has been kind of a roller coaster for Yankees fans to watch this so far.
See, now how I kind of looked at it was like, at that point, it was only the 5th game of the season. So it's like Boone was almost just trying to get like a feel of when to put pitchers in and stuff, and like he's still testing everything out. So he just threw Holder in to just be like, okay, we'll put him in here, see how he does, and it obviously really backfired. Which it was not the best move, especially with the day off, but he was just trying to figure out what his eventual pecking order of pitchers to put in would be. So obviously now he knows don't put Holder in when you have a 3-run lead in the 6th inning. But I don't expect him to do that again. I think he was just experimenting a little bit.
See, here's my whole thing, because I've heard that argument, like, oh, he's experimenting, and like people use that example with Betances, and when they Boone brought him out for the 2nd inning, and he loses the game for him. I said to myself, wait a minute, what do you mean Boone has to see what he has? Oh, now Boone knows what he's got with Betances. Did Boone not watch the Yankees last year? Did Boone not see what the hell Betances was last year? What do you mean you don't know what you got? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to, this isn't like trial and error time. This is the regular season. You're trying to win games. And Boone putting Holder out in that situation, I was flabbergasted. I was literally shocked that he put Holder out there, because I said it right away, right when he was warming up, I said, you guys have a problem with Boone putting Holder out here? And then it was just like, batting practice, base hit, base hit, base hit. So I don't know. I mean, they won the game, and I hate to get too caught up, but I just keep noticing these little things that it's like, hey man, you shouldn't be putting Jonathan Holder in a 3-run game in the 6th inning early in the season.
Oh, I totally agree with that, because it's not like the Yankees don't have good options. Like you're saying, you have a Green, you have a Canley, you have a Robertson, even an Adam Warren that I would put in beforehand. So yeah, obviously the Yankees won, so it kind of gets swept underneath the rug, but the game got tied up. It put us in a position to no longer be winning, if that makes sense, the way I put that. So yeah, I agree. It's one thing to kind of experiment, but why are we experimenting by putting literally the last guy in the bullpen in a kind of high leverage situation like that?
Situations that are doomed to fail. Like, oh,
correct.
Out for a 2nd inning. What could go wrong?
Now, and it'd be one thing if he'd brought Holder in, say it was, a 5-run lead, 6-run lead, some garbage time in a game before, and he struck out the side, something like that. Well, then, okay, then he'd have a little bit of grounds to at least, the next game say, maybe we'll try moving you into a more high leverage situation. But to put him in like that, where, correct me if I'm wrong, was that his first appearance of the year?
I think it was his second. I think he had one in Toronto, I think.
Okay. Still, coming in like that, that's one thing. Like, I understand the bringing Dellin in for his 2nd inning, earlier on in the season, build his confidence up. Dellin's been great in the past. Jonathan Holder, we're not quite sure yet. He's been good in the minors, but, the big leagues is something 100% different.
See, now I'm the exact opposite of you, Nick. I do not understand bringing Dellin in for the second inning at all
Yeah,
because
neither did I.
Dellin's not a 2 inning pitcher.
No, he's not.
For pretty much the entire time, he's been the consistently good reliever for the Yankees. He's been the 8th inning guy who maybe they bring in for 1 out in the 7th inning to get out of a jam.
It's like
He's not a guy who can go 2 innings.
He looks nasty for like one. He gets those 2 outs. Like, yep, get him out.
Yeah.
Like, get him out. He just
and
threw
the
7 out
thing
of the
with
last
him,
9 pitches or balls. Get him out. Like, okay, he got the out.
The thing with him is he only has 2 pitches, and if one of those is off, if he has no control of his fastball, no control of his curveball, he has 1 pitch, and he only throws that 1 pitch. So you can't. It doesn't matter that his curveball is really, really good. You can't go 2 innings throwing 1 pitch, especially to a team like the Jays, who their lineup is not as good as it was, say, in 2015, but they still have guys who can hit the ball. So having him, just trusting him to go that second inning was, I don't understand Boone doing that at all.
Well, and I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that, you say that Dellin isn't a 2 inning pitcher. That much I agree with. But again, to me, I thought that was maybe more of a confidence move to say, hey, go out and get your other inning in, because I don't have to tell you that Dellin, the second half of last year was not very good. The guy couldn't throw a strike, and he was pretty much blackballed, in the playoffs, getting replaced pretty early on when things were going awry in the playoffs. So that's all I was saying. I'm like, man, we're early on in the season. Maybe try and let the guy get some confidence in a high leverage situation now, as opposed to the end of the season. Obviously, in the end, it wasn't a great move. So that's where I was coming from it, on that. So I don't know. Like, I get you got to try some things early on in the season. But I'm just saying, I may be assuming Boone was just trying to build the Betances' confidence up. I approve of that experimentation a little bit more than the Holder one, I guess is what I was trying to say with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Some other notes from that game. That was the game where Stanton struck out 5 times. That was also
got booed.
Yep, he got
the
booed.
the home opener, not the Dellin 2-inning one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was about to say the game, the Rays Yankees game, the opener.
If I may, real quick, actually, on the whole booze thing, there's 2 ways to look at that. I'm sure a lot of people are like, look at these spoiled freaking Yankees fans, all this and that. But on a local radio show out here that I listen to quite frequently, I was surprised. The host came out and said, I applaud the Yankees fans for doing that because they have expectations. It's not just like, oh, man, we're happy we got a star player, yada, yada, yada. Like, they're going to hold their guys accountable. This guy's a White Sox fan that talks on the radio out here, and he says, I want my guys or my fans to, have that standard of, we want you to play. You strike out 5 times. That's totally unacceptable. And, I'm not trying to burn Giancarlo Stanton at the stake or anything, but like, I think that to me, it was almost cool how like some guy who's not a Yankees fan was like, yeah, I'm behind the Yankees fans for booing him. He had a bad game. Obviously, he's not going to strike out 5 times every game. He's got 3 home runs now early on in the season. He's going to hit a lot more. So I just thought that was interesting, a little interesting tape, because I thought surely all the non-Yankees fans, on the outside looking in would be really opposed to that. But no, this guy, like on the radio out here, is like, yeah, I'm totally behind that. So I don't know what you guys feel about that, but I was kind of like, I don't know if I would have booed, but I get it.
Yeah, the thing with Stan,
I'm not gonna say I would have booed. Like, it depends how I was feeling, but like, man, 5 strikeouts. It's just like that. That's a terrible performance. Like, they're not booing Stan, they're booing the performance. Like, 5 strikeouts in your first, start at Yankee Stadium, your first game at Yankee Stadium. Like, that's just awful. And it makes up for it a little bit. Like, not that anything makes up for striking out 5 times in the game, but he did hit a home run in his first at bat as a Yankee, which is just awesome. Like, that's something that will just always be a thing. The first time Giancarlo Stanton stepped to the plate as a New York Yankee, he went deep. So that's just awesome as it is. But yeah, just 5 strikeouts, man. That's not good. But the next day, he first at bat, boom, 458 feet, an absolute bomb.
Now I think it's actually pretty good that like it'll help him that happened to him, because playing in Miami for as long as he did,
birds out early,
Yeah, exactly. Playing in Miami as long as he did, the Marlins don't have even close to the fan base the Yankees do, and with that, like the Yankees media, the Yankees are a much more difficult team to play for, like mentally, with the fans and the media. So like the fact that Stanton had to deal with the fans and understand what they're like booing him in his first game for 5 strikeouts it's a good experience for him to get rather than say when, it's the playoffs and all of a sudden they start booing him and he doesn't know what's going on. And especially, how he, his first at bat the next day, hits a home run and he kind of just bat flipped. And I just took that as like, yeah, well, this is what you guys get for booing me yesterday. So I think overall it's going to help him just kind of adjust to playing in New York as a whole.
Yeah, well, it helped him a lot that day. That was the day that Didi just absolutely went off. 4 for 4, 8 RBIs, 2 home runs. I just we're not going to get too much into this because all the numbers, but we need to extend Didi ASAP. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. Didi needs to be the shortstop for the future. He needs to be locked up. He's before our eyes. He's turning into just a guy that, if he stays healthy, looks like he's going to be consistently hitting 290, 25 plus homers and playing a great shortstop. I mean, what more can you ask?
Nothing at all.
Well, and the guy's a star. Like, I'm just going to say, he's a star player. He's a two-way player. If this team didn't have a Judge, Stanton, and Sanchez, like, Didi Gregorius would be getting a lot more attention because he's got 30 home run power. His defense is outstanding. So I just look at him, and I mean, he's been walking to start the season. I think that was the one complaint people had in his game coming into the season, is that he just maybe lacked a little bit of plate discipline. But, he's been taking his walks early on in the season, and a 4 for 4, 8 RBI performance. That's legendary. So I'm 100% behind that. I don't think we need a Manny Machado to play shortstop. I think you keep Gleyber Torres at second base when he comes up. I say you let Didi hold down the shortstop for the long term because he is a star. People don't realize that because he's in a star-studded lineup that he gets overlooked in, but I'm 100% behind that. You need to extend him some way, somehow. By the way, the correct term is extend. To re-sign him would imply that he's not under contract anymore. Let me just get that out there, throw a little bit of shade out there. So I think that we should extend Didi Gregorius. By the way, if you need to know what extend means, ask Didi Gregorio. He'll hook you up.
Anyways.
Shout out to Ryan Toms, who wrote the article on our website about extending Didi.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely check it out.
Let's stop using the term extending Didi. Anyways. So
that is some sort of euphemism for something.
Didi's numbers to start the year. He's 9 for 23. 8 of his 9 hits are extra base hits. He only has 1 base hit, that little bloop. 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, 5 walks, which is very surprising. I think he only had like 30 last year. So he's walking a bit. 517 on base, 391 average. Having a great start to the year. The game Wednesday was the first game of hopefully many that Judge, Stanton, and Gary all went deep. And, Giancarlo's home run was a bomb. Judge's home run didn't seem like a bomb, but it was a bomb. And Gary's home run, he didn't think he even got it. And it found its way out. So, hopefully we see that a lot more. Sevy started that game, and he was just phenomenal. He went into the 8th inning, 7 1/3, 207 strikeouts. He second win of the season already for Sevy. Blake Snell is not that good, but that game Wednesday was just almost a perfect game where Sevy goes in the 8th, starts running into some trouble in the 8th. Warren comes in, and then I found this interesting, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this. Chapman came into that game, and it was a 5-run game, and I kind of liked it. I don't know, because if Chapman right now, I think you could make a strong argument that right now, I know it's still early, and I know you really can't put too much value into these bad performances, but if you had to say, all right, who's the one reliever you trust most in this Yankees bullpen right now? Like for tonight's game, let's just say if there was one guy that all right, you need 3 outs, who do you trust the most? I think it's Chapman. I think it has to be.
Yeah, I
roll this.
Yeah.
So
no, and I'm with you. I really like how they brought in Chapman.
It's like I don't mind. Let's say by the end of the year, let's say if he's in 45 save opportunities, why can't he be in 20, 25 additional games where it's a 1-run deficit or a 5-run lead or whatever it is? I think Chapman deserves, and I think he's shown that he's you wouldn't think Chapman was the type of guy that would be able to go multiple innings. But I think Chapman, as he's almost like CeCe's kind of evolved. I think Chapman's kind of evolved as like a closer where he could go, he could get 5 outs for you. He could go a couple innings. And I think.
Are we talking to Joe Madden? Hello? Is this the Cubs manager, Joe Madden?
I think he could go 8 innings and throw 100 pitches in 2 days. I think he really can. Yeah, I think.
I completely agree with you there. I 100%. I liked that move. I don't necessarily think it was more of a like, let's lock this game down and be sure. Although I think it does cover that base. I think it was more of like, hey, let's get Chapman some work in. But whichever way you want to look at it, absolutely works for me. As Luigi kind of alluded to, I agree. That is like the perfect Yankee formula, that game. You got Judge, Stanton, and Sanchez all going deep. Like, that is what you want. Mm-hmm. He hit it on the head. Severino was cruising, man. I thought in today's day and age, you don't see this often, but I thought he might have had a shot at a complete game. Obviously ran into some trouble, but he was cruising and he had a pretty low pitch count for a lot of that game. So I thought, well, maybe 8 or 9.
I think I said this in the business chat or some chat. In the three innings, I believe it was either the 4th, 5th, or 6th. I think it was the 4th and the 6th. He had 25 pitches in those 3 innings. Like, yeah, he had like 7 pitches, 8 pitches, and 10. Just literally less than 10 or fewer pitches each 3 innings in a row. That's video game like.
Oh, dude, that is video game like. And honestly, like, I look at it and I'm like, seeing Judge and Severino pick up last year where they left off, to me, has been huge. Earlier on in this podcasting season, I mentioned Judge was kind of my X factor. I want to see him rebound. I was a little afraid he might come into the season and he would hit like 200 with only 30 home runs and have a down year. I was afraid that slump might manifest itself and affect the season, and it's clearly not. He's hitting dingers now, still hitting for average, still getting on base. And then Severino, as I kind of mentioned, when I was talking about Sonny Gray being my Yankees Cy Young candidate here, I kind of mentioned there might be a little bit of a sophomore slump with Severino, and that is absolutely not the case. He was mowing guys down, and that's the formula you want. Have your starting pitcher go 6 or 7, turn it over to the lockdown bullpen, and take that W. So I don't think you could really draw up a better game for the Yankees than the one on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I know that I just wanted to really quickly mention on Tuesday's game that Montgomery pitched very well. I think he got bailed out a little bit by Gardy. I think Gardy threw the guy at home during his start, but
Pose.
Yeah, Monty battled through it. Pitch count's still too high. That's a big problem for him. But yeah, every start, it seems like every start from every starter has been good. But then the game yesterday, that was a tough one. It was a very I was like tweeting for the game, and it wasn't much to tweet about for the first half of the game. It was 0-0 through 5. The Yankees only had like 1 or 2 hits.
I think Wade had their only hit until Judge hit the home run.
And Judge hits the home run in the bottom of the 6th, opposite field, makes it 1-0. And then the Orioles scored 5 runs. Adam Jones gets a 2-run homer off Tanaka. And then I believe he allows another hit. Green comes in, was just bad. He came in, allowed 3 hits, only got 2 outs, 2 earned runs. And yeah, just continue to add on to the bullpen struggles. The Yankees, though, they had a chance to win that game at the end. In the 8th, I believe it was in the 7th inning, Austin left guys in 1st and 2nd, and then the 8th inning, Neil Walker left the bases loaded. So that game was there for the taking. The Yankees just couldn't get that big hit that they needed. But overall, a really good start for Tanaka. He started off great, ran into some trouble at the end. His final line was 6 1/3, 6 hits, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts. But he gets the loss, and yeah, that's
a tough loss for Tanaka.
I was about to say, it was a tough one to swallow for Tanaka because he really just made that one mistake, and Boone probably should have taken him out right after, but you really can't blame him for not because a lot of times Tanaka is just gonna give up that home run and then rebound and get the next few guys out, but. Yeah.
Well, and as the guy who, as we've kind of talked about Yankees pitchers coming into the season, I've been very down on Tanaka. He's kind of shut me up to start the season here. He's had 2 very solid performances. I mean, last night, I will take 6 1/3, only 3 earned runs and 7 strikeouts from Tanaka every time out. That's a huge improvement from last year. And, he did give up his homer. Obviously, we've talked about the home run problems, but and he gave up 1 in his other start. But if you're keeping it to, between 1 to 3 runs, allowed, I'll take that every day. And yeah, like you mentioned, the Yankees just couldn't get that big hit. Cashner was on it, man. And in fairness, he had his best season, in the big leagues last year. And a lot of people kind of said, well, the peripherals aren't really there, peripheral pitching statistics, which would suggest he'd maybe regress a little bit this year. But he's keeping it going. The Yankees got, shut down by a hot pitcher, and it's really unfortunate, and it sucks. I mean, at least, Judge got a home run off them, continues to stay hot. But yeah, man, kind of going back to that bullpen, Chad Green came in and kind of wet the bed. That's tough to see, and you don't want to see that, a guy who was just filthy last year. I mean, honestly, of all the Yankees pitchers last year, he might have had the best just raw stuff. I mean, his fastball he throws it so hard and it just moves so much. I don't know if there's a better fastball in the game, and I'll even include Chapman in that because he throws a really, hard fastball, but there's not a whole lot of run to it like Green. So again, I think they'll get it going. It's really frustrating to lose these games early on because they're games that you feel like you can win and you want to pick up these wins against, I don't think I'm being very controversial when I call the Orioles an inferior team because they are. I think them and the Rays will be duking it out for last in the division. By all accounts, a lot of people consider their pitching staff to be the worst in the league. So hopefully the Yankees rebound tonight. It'd be really nice to see them take at least 3 of these 4 games. I think if you split this series, that'd be a colossal disappointment.
Yeah, we'll preview the Orioles series to end the show, but really quickly, I just wanted to highlight 3 guys in the Yankees lineup who just really have been struggling. So the first one is Stanton so far start the season, despite getting the 3 home runs, he's 5 for 27 overall. Gardy to start the year is 5 for 29, and Alex had a good point before we started recording that. Gardy also started last year off just terribly through like the first month of the season. He was hitting 200. And then there's the big one, really, is Gary, who's 2 for 26 to start the season. I mean, that's like, it's like we keep saying, you can't overreact 7 games, but like a 2 for 26 stretch is a 2 for 26 stretch. That doesn't matter what point of the season. Like that's a slump, and it's a really bad time to, have a slump, because you're always going to have, no matter how good of a hitter you have, you're always going to have a couple slumps in the season. And, to start the season with one just isn't what you want. And yeah, Gary, it's weird though with Gary because it's not even like his plate discipline's just been awful. That was like a big problem for him last year against Houston. He was just swinging at terrible pitches. Like I haven't even noticed that from Gary that much. Yeah, he's swung at a few bad pitches, but he's not 2 for 26 because his plate discipline has been so bad. He's 2 for 26 because, he just hasn't been squaring up the ball. And he's going to get out of it. He's a great hitter, but definitely just something to keep your eye on early on.
Yeah, he's been missing a lot of pitches. Like you said, he hasn't been squaring it up, but he's squared up a few of them where they've been line drives just right at people. Mm-hmm. So if he's had even a little luck, he could be, 5 or 6 for 26, which still isn't wonderful. But it's not as bad as, 2 for 26. So he could I don't expect him to be in this slump for that much longer just because he did hit a home run the other day. On that he didn't even square up at all because he didn't think he hit it out. Mm-hmm. But I think overall he's going to break out soon just because he hasn't looked as bad as the numbers say he has.
Yeah, no, I remember Machado. I just want to say real quick. Remember Machado last year? Like, if you looked inside his numbers, like he should have been batting so much higher. He was hitting like on the low 200s, and you say, well, actually, he's just been getting really unlucky. Like he's been barreling the ball up a lot, but they've just been catching it. So it happens. We know.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are putting it pretty perfectly. I mean, Gary's a guy that's 30 home run potential, and in fairness to Gary here, the Yankees trotted out 6 starters last night that were hitting under 200. It's not like the offense is just him. Obviously, he's one of those 6, so he's not doing his part. But the Yankees' offense as a whole has been a little cold to start the season. But this happens. So I look at that, and Stan was the NL MVP last year. I'm not very worried about him. He'll get it together. He'll hit 40, 50 home runs. He'll have an upper 200s average. If there's one guy out of this group that I would be concerned about, I'll say Brett Gardner, just because he's getting up there in age. He's 34. You wonder, maybe is this, a little bit more decline? I'm not going to go there yet. If it continues over the next few weeks, then I think that's a very fair conversation to have. But overall, I'm not really worried at all about these three guys. It's early on. They'll get their hits. You can have a 2 for 26, slump at any point in the season. It just looks a whole lot worse when you have it in the beginning of the season, kind of like what I was saying with the bullpen, is your good stats aren't there to kind of cover that up. So it gets really exposed and kind of highlighted. So I don't know. I think Gary's going to rebound. He's going to be big for this team. Just give it some time and he'll get back up there.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's a great time to rebound against this weekend against these matchups. And let's go into that. Let's do a little preview of the remaining 3 games on this set against the Orioles. Really quickly give you the pitching matchups for those games. Tonight we have, we're recording this Friday, so if you listen to Saturday, it's already happened, but we have CC Sabathia going up against Kevin Gausman. And tomorrow afternoon, we have Sonny Gray going up against Chris Tillman. And then we have Jordan Montgomery going up against Wright. So 3 matchups where the Yankees probably should be getting some hits. Probably should be. Hopefully, they're not going to be getting shut down. I mean, look, Cashman didn't shut them down, but definitely pitched very well against them. And I think they're going to have some success against Gausman.
I just want to say the last time that the Yankees faced the pitching matchup was Gausman versus CC on a Friday night was last year, and the Yankees won that game 14-11 after being down 9-1. So just a thing to look out for there.
That was the Matt Holliday walk-off game, right?
That was the Matt Holliday walk-off game.
Can I just
and
say
the
that
Ellsbury Grand Slam game. Don't forget that.
Yep.
I would take Matt Holliday's forearms in a fight against a bulldozer. I just want to throw that out there. He's one of the most jacked dudes in the MLB.
Him and Gardy last year, the Bald brothers. That was funny.
Oh, fun times.
Tonight's lineup for the Yankees is Gardner in center, Judge is in right, Stanton in left, Didi cleaning it up at short, Gary behind the plate batting 5th, Neil Walker at first batting 6th, Brandon Drury playing 3rd batting 7th, Tyler Wade playing 2nd batting 8th, and Miguel Andujar DHing. So no Tyler Austin. He's been struggling a bit. Think it's the right move. Andujar hasn't been hitting well either, but I think this is a big chance for him. He's got to show that he belongs on this team, and he hasn't done that so far this season.
Well, and Kevin Gausman allowed 6 runs in 4 innings his last start out. He allowed 3 home runs.
3 home runs.
So look for the ball to fly around the yard tonight. At least it should. You were saying the Yankees should probably get some hits. I'm going to just say the Yankees should get some hits and need to get some hits because this is a guy that I think they can feast against, and they need to. CC's a good pitcher. He'll keep you in the game, but he's not one that I might say is going to, guaranteed hold you to, 1 or 2 runs. He might give up more like 3 to 4 to 5-ish area. So be sure to get your offense tonight, support the big guy on the mound, and I think it should be a win.
It also, according to weather, it's 60 degrees in New York City right now.
Nice.
Everywhere but Ohio is having nice weather.
Hey, down here in Florida, we don't worry about that.
I'm in Massachusetts, Nick, and it's like 40 degrees, so I feel you.
Hey, man, I got
your mom is 40 degrees.
I got shorts and a t-shirt.
Got me there.
Man. Let's just enjoy the Florida weather, right, boys?
Hey, Luigi, what are we going to talk about next? How's about this next matchup of Sonny Gray versus Chris Tillman?
Yeah. Anyways, enough about the greatest state in the country. Yes, Sonny Gray. Let's see how he rebounds, Nick, because that first start, I need more than 4 innings out of Sonny Gray. And I know it was the first start of the year. I know he's going to be pulled a little early, like all pitchers are, but that was a problem for him last year, where a lot of starts he had the stuff, he had that strikeout stuff where he's getting 2 strikeouts per inning, but he just doesn't. His pitch count's too high for him to go anything past the 5th. So, and especially with the way the bullpen's been pitching, and especially after, they're going to have a night game and then a day game, Sonny Gray is going to need to go deep in that game.
No, I don't disagree with that. And I honestly wasn't too terribly upset with Gray's start for it being his first start out. Yeah, obviously he allowed, 10 base runners. That's not good. But bottom line is he only gave up 1 run and struck out 8. So it's good to see he's got that strikeout pitch working again. I keep going back to this for just about everything. It's early on in the season. It was his first start. I think, 3 games in the season, 3-4 games in the season, you figured you could probably turn to your bullpen, in the 5th inning and they'd hold a lead for you. Obviously, that didn't pan out. So yes, I agree. Gray needs to, ideally get to at least 6 innings in, and I think he will. Again, I think it's just a little bit of rust. I'm thrilled to see his stuff's there and he's striking people out, and I think that's huge. If he can get some ground balls and strike some people out, I think he's going to rebound this next time out. I'd expect, at least I'll say 6 innings. He'll go at least 6 innings. You can take it to the bank, write it down. You heard it here first, folks. So he's going against Chris Tillman, who by a lot of marks was the worst pitcher in the MLB last year. He had a 7.84 ERA. That was only in 93 innings, but it's not good. So I'd expect the Yankees to get the win regardless of Gray, but I think he'll bounce back in a big way. And again, we had a lot of spirited debate about this in our Bronx Bomber Ball group chat about, was Gray's first start good or bad? And again, I'm going to say for the first start of the season to only give up 1 run while striking 8 out, I think he could do a whole hell of a lot worse than that. So that's my take on the Sonny Gray thing.
I think Gray to me is just a very strange pitcher because he has such good stuff and you can see it, but he's another one where he's kind of frustrating because he doesn't utilize that. And like last game, he went 4 innings, which, 4 innings, like Nick said, is not good, but his stuff was good enough that he still had 8 strikeouts. So it's almost confusing, where to the point that you don't know what he's going to give you. And I do think tonight he will hopefully at least have a little bit of a bounce back from that and work a little bit more efficiently. But even if he doesn't, even if he goes 4 or 5 innings again, the Yankees they can survive that as long as the bullpen doesn't implode again. Because
I hate to break it to you, Alex, Sonny Gray is not going to have a bounce back tonight because he pitches tomorrow.
That's
I
what I was talking about.
I want to thank Alex Ware for all his work on the Bronx Bomber Ball podcast. This is his final show.
All right,
we
guys.
wish you luck with
it was good being here. I'm gone.
With your future endeavors. But in all seriousness, again, I know everybody's trying to harp on this last start, but again, it was his first start of the season. It'd be one thing if this guy was like a Nathan Eovaldi or Michael Pineda, where they've shown flashes of brilliance in the past, but just could never harness it in a consistent manner. Sonny Gray has had very good seasons in the past. Now, granted, he's about a year or two removed from those, but he's had some lights-out, outstanding Cy Young caliber seasons in the past. So it's just good to see that the stuff is there for me. I wanted to be sure that stuff was still there. And I think as the season goes on, he'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, if we're talking about this in 3-4 weeks, Gray went, only 4 or 5 innings again, then we can have that discussion. But I think for the sake of, fairness to Gray, let's let him see what his start that Alex thinks is tonight, but is really tomorrow. Let's see what happens then.
Right. Alex needs to, learn what day it is. And then the game Sunday, the pitching matchup Sunday. Mike Wright, I only said Wright Jr. because I was literally looking. I said this could be like one of 20 guys that has the last name Wright. That's just like an average ass pitcher that pitches in the AL East.
Yeah.
But it's Mike Wright Jr. who 149 and a third career innings, 5.85 ERA. In his first start of this season, he went 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs. So really, the Orioles starters, they're almost all the same pitch. They're all okay. They're all like those decent 3-4 guys, but none of them are really 1 or 2 guys. And
the only one I can see eventually becoming like a more top throat line guy is Bundy.
Yeah, Cashner at one point was like that guy. Like when he was in San Diego system, he was coming up. But
yeah.
I thought he was going to be like a great pitcher, like a perennial all-star type guy. He had the stuff, and he still may. But
Luigi, I'm just going to call you out here because you called me out for not knowing that Gray's start was tomorrow. But Cashner did not go through the San Diego system. He came through the Cubs system.
I'm saying when he was on San Diego, when he was coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Luigi and Alex for their contributions to the Bronx Bomber Ball podcast. This is now going to be the Nick Scott podcast.
Hey,
my aunt talk about how great Sonny Gray is.
My subscription to the Andrew Cashner fan page ran out a few months ago, so I forgot that he came out through the Cubs system. But yeah, I know for a fact that he was a young pitcher on the San Diego Padres at one point who was promising, and yeah, that was my point. So don't appreciate.
Well, maybe to get back to
my co-host undercutting me there, but
we're just undercutting each other all over the place. But maybe getting back to the Sunday matchup there, you look at Wright Jr. and he's been a pretty bad pitcher. His career ERA is 5.85, so you'd hope that the Yankees would shell him around. But at times for me, like, I don't know if you guys remember, like, Miguel Gonzalez, I think was his name for the Orioles, like, just largely mediocre pitchers seem to give the Yankees fits at times.
He would always dominate them.
Yeah, so let's not get that going with Mike Wright Jr. here, and let's put some runs up on him. Jordan Montgomery started out the season strong, so look for it to continue. I'm going to say the Yankees will win the next 3 games and take the series 3-1.
Yeah, it would definitely be big, especially with the Red Sox coming up Tuesday through Thursday. Yeah, it's going to be the thing I'm going to be looking for. Not so much tonight with CC because you almost know CC is going to go between like 4 and 6 innings, but really with Gray and Montgomery, I'm really looking to see how their pitch count, how many pitches they're at in an inning because if either of those guys is at 17 plus pitches an inning, it's going to be an issue because I think both of those guys need to just cut those pitches down. They need to go deep into games, especially look, because guys like Severino and even guys like Tanaka are going to go usually pretty deep. Those guys have pretty good
super deep, so deep,
exactly.
Balls deep.
So balls deep always. So that your top 2 guys are going to give that for you. But if you get your bottom half of the rotation, excluding CC because we don't expect them to go deep into games, but if you get your second year sophomore pitcher and then your big trade acquisition from last year, if you get those guys to consistently go 6+ innings, it's going to take a lot of stress off that bullpen who's had, like we said, has had a rough start to the season. And no matter how good they are, we know they're going to recover. But it'd be nice if one like our starters could just go 6-7 innings to maybe give them some much needed nights off because if Gray and Monty start struggling, and if it's they have a 5 spot in the second inning, then it's not going to exactly help out that bullpen.
Yeah, and even though even if the Yankees bullpen is so good, they can only pitch so much. And they do have a lot of options, but if 2 of the pitchers in the bullpen or 2 of the guys in the rotation are only going 4 innings a game, that's going to really hurt the bullpen.
Exactly. Yeah, so anything else, guys? Anything else we want to talk about? And the game's about to start in like an hour, so we got time. But yeah, is anything else in the Yankee universe that we want to discuss here on the pod?
I just want to give a big shout out to Dan DiGregorio, Andrew Natalizio, and Max Horton for bringing Bronx Bomber Ball to Yankee Stadium, doing some fantastic Snapchatting. If you're listening to this and you don't follow us on Snapchat, please go ahead and do. I believe it's just Bronx Bomber Ball, correct?
Yeah,
it might pop up as
Max Horton, not Max Horton. It's not Horton. Here's a.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a big Dr. Seuss guy at the same time. My God. Well, look at now. Circle's complete. We're all fired.
We're all out.
This is the last episode of the podcast. It was great doing this with you guys.
Yeah, I'm actually going to blow my computer up after this. I soiled it. So it looks like it's Bronx Bomber Ball, no spaces. It might pop up as Ryan Toms because he's the boss now. We had a change in leadership. I want to give a big shout out to Chad Raines, who, me and him, it was his idea to start Bronx Bomber Ball. I don't know what year this would be. It was 3-4 years ago. It's been a while now. He had a Jan Hervis Solarte tune when tune characters were a big thing on Twitter. It was basically a really stupid-looking cartoon character of a baseball player with their name spelled wrong, and you do a bunch of tweets with the names or the word spelled wrong. So he has accepted a position, an internship with the Mets. If you saw the retweet that said "Let's go Mets" in our Bronx Bomber Ball feed, that would be why. We absolutely do not wish the Mets any kind of success, but we wish Chad Raines all the success and looking forward to starting a new era with Ryan Toms in charge. So that's pretty much my bit for the miscellaneous here.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate all that Chad's done for the blog. Really, we're one of the big time Yankee blogs, and Chad and Nick were the 2 guys that started. I've only been here for not even a year, so really appreciate what Chad's done. We got Ryan will be just referred to as the boss, just like George was referred to as the boss.
BBB Grandmaster.
Yeah, he's just the boss, like almost like he's in The Sopranos, right? What are you gonna do?
Oh, one
Yeah,
more
so
thing. One more thing, real quick. If you're following the Bronx Bomber Ball Snapchat and you receive any what you may consider to be inappropriate Snapchats,
that's gonna be
please
us.
let us. Please let us know right away. Just let us know. That would be imperative, and we'll do what we can. The Snapchat is shared amongst several members of the group, so you just don't know when one thing can lead to another, and all of a sudden you're seeing some Bronx Bomber balls, and we want to try and keep that to a minimum. I'm sorry, it's really hard to follow that up. How do you rebound from that one?
Yeah, like Snapchat. Be safe out there, guys. But really, we're gonna have, I believe Vinny and Andrew are both at the game tonight. So
Andrew will be there calling the game over in the second inning, as he does.
If you follow Andrew on Twitter, once there's a walk or once something bad happens, the game is over. It is done. The Yankees have lost.
That way you don't have to watch the game. We'll let you know when the Yankees allow a runner to get on base. It's game over, according to Andrew. So when you see that tweet, you can say, "Oh, I'll just stop watching this game and do something more productive with my time," because the Yankees are going to lose because the games are decided in the second and third inning.
Absolutely, comebacks aren't a thing. The Yankees, hopefully they have a good weekend. Tiger Woods is playing golf. Hopefully he makes the cut. And yeah, that's our show. We're gonna get this out to you guys hopefully before the game starts. It's good to have baseball back. Hopefully, I think there's supposed to be some more bad weather come through the Northeast in the next coming days. So hopefully they get all the games in.
It was snowing up here in Massachusetts for about 3 or 4 hours this morning. So
that's just wonderful baseball weather. And yeah, that's our show. So we'll have obviously our episode Sunday. This was a lot of fun. Got a little NSFW at the end there.
Super duper. But that's how we like to keep it. That's the Eater spirit, guys.
That's what we do. For Matt, for Nick, for Alex, this is the Bronx Bomber Battle Podcast.
Yeeters.
Yeeters.
We'll see you next time, guys.
Bronx Bomber.